now. Count on 2, live and local in the Low Country. This is News 2 at 4.
An Arctic blast taking the nation by storm, expected to break more than 300 records across the country. The Low Country currently under a freeze warning with temperatures dropping below freezing overnight. How that will affect local crops and tips on how to cold-proof your home coming up. Good afternoon and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sophia Arzoza. We are in a weather alert day today as the Low Country is under a freeze warning. Let's head straight over to meteorologist Ariel Hooley. Ariel, it was a warm start to the day. What can we expect overnight?
Yeah, it was kind of tricky out there this morning if you were heading out to work. We saw temperatures well into the 70s before lunchtime, but this is what we're all talking about, that freeze warning in effect for the Low Country as we are anticipating temperatures to drop below that freezing mark for the entire area. Now, taking a little bit of a wider view here, you can see the cold temperatures well off to our west here. Nashville sitting at just 28, same into Knoxville. 40 as you head out the door right now into Greenville, South Carolina. Temperatures already starting to fall here in Charleston. We're sitting right now at 57 degrees. And a little closer to home right now, you can actually see that cold front pushing on through. 40s and 50s for inland areas. But as you head towards the coastline, we're still sitting just below 70 degrees out on Folly Beach. So this cold air going to continue to push towards the coastline through the evening hours. And it's coming with some rain. So if you're heading out on the roadways, definitely want to budget some extra time. Now, I started off with a little wider view here because I want you to see up towards Raleigh, that cold air chasing this cold front. And then we're actually seeing a wintry mix up towards that area. Now, here in the Low Country, we are just going to see some rain as this does come on through. It's going to be a cold rain. As that cold air again fills in behind the cold front, you can see rain spread across the Low Country here. We're talking light to moderate rain, except for right along Folly Beach. That's where we're seeing the heaviest rain right now. No lightning associated with this, but definitely want to budget some extra time as you hit the roadways here. That rain will continue to push towards the Low Country coastline as we head into the evening hours here. 7 o'clock, that rain starting to taper off, but then comes the big chill. Check this out. Temperatures into the 30s and 40s by 10 o'clock. And as we head into the early morning hours, we are into the 20s and 30s out there. Stepping out the door 8 a.m., we are sitting at freezing near the Charleston International Airport. Temperatures tomorrow slowly starting to rebound, but we're not going to see a very warm day here. So let's talk about the bottom line here as we head for freezing in the Low Country. Tonight with that freeze warning in effect, you need to protect your pets and your plants. You need to go ahead and bring those inside. Wind chills, those winds going to be gusting tonight. We could be feeling like the teens and 20s. So make sure to budget some extra time as you hit the roadways early tomorrow morning. So we've been talking about it. Temperatures expected to fall this evening, and you may be looking for ways to stay warm. So let's go ahead and check in with Raymond Owens. He's been working on this story all evening long. Raymond, how are people preparing for the cold?
Well, there's a number of different ways people are preparing for the cold. I was talking to some folks earlier today, and they were saying, you know, it's kind of hard to believe it's going to be so cold tonight. I don't think it's hard to believe now. It has gotten much, much colder, windy, and we're seeing some of that cold rain already here in Goose Creek. Now, Berkeley County is opening a warming shelter here in a few hours at Goose Creek United Methodist Church. I'm right here on Red Bank Road, so if you need somewhere to stay, this would be a good place to come here for tonight. There's a number of things you can do to make sure you're prepared and make sure your plants are prepared. If you have flowering plants, obviously you want to cover them up. You'll need to take those precautions. I spoke with Terry Jacobs. She lives in Monk's Corner and she has lots of beautiful flowers in her yard. And she told me she's doing the best she can to cover up those flowers where possible. She's simply hoping for the best. Warming shelter would be outside. That would be funny, wouldn't it? I'd get there.
I don't want it to come and mess my flowers up. But I'm trying to prepare to keep some of them alive. I've already put lights on, so I'm hoping that'll give it some heat, and then I may put some plastic over top of them, and just hope they make it.
And now coming up on News 2 at 5, I'll talk to the manager of Lowe's here in Goose Creek, and he was telling me about how they're seeing additional sales as people are coming in to kind of prepare for the cold. We'll talk about that coming up on News 2 at 5. And again, the shelter here is open at 7 o'clock tonight, and they will be open until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Live in Goose Creek, I'm Raymond Owens. Count on 2.
Fingers crossed for that beautiful garden. Raymond, thank you and stay warm. Ahead of the freezing temperatures, we asked Dominion Energy what tips they can give customers. They say have your furnace inspected by a licensed contractor so it doesn't start a fire when you turn it on. Check the filter. Give your furnace some space. It will perform best when the room has to breathe. And don't store any flammable materials near it.
So as our customers prepare for really that first cold snap of the season in the forecast tonight, we want our customers to understand that we're prepared as well. So, we're taking steps all across our system to make sure that we're ready for the cold.
Some other tips to get your home cold weather ready: install a smart thermostat, lower your thermostat to 68 degrees, and move any furniture that may be blocking vents that reduce airflow. The city of Goose Creek opening up a warming center ahead of the freezing temperatures. That center is located at 142 Red Bank Road in Goose Creek, and the center will open at 7 tonight. That center will close back up at 7 tomorrow morning. And don't forget, you can always stay on top of the forecast and this cold snap when you download our Storm Team 2 app. Just search WCBD in the App Store to have it in hand. We are learning new details concerning the arrest of a Colleton County sheriff this week. The state chapter of the National Action Network made a written request for his removal to Governor McMaster. Dorchester County reporter Danielle Seda has been following this story for us all week. She tells us how Strickland would be removed from office. Danielle.
Today, I spoke with Governor McMaster about the case concerning R.A. Strickland. He tells me that in order for the Colleton County sheriff to be removed, he must be indicted first. Today, Governor Henry McMaster visited Flourtown to speak with people about national and local issues. News 2 was able to interview him about one current matter circulating in the Lowcountry: the arrest and request for removal of Sheriff R.A. Strickland. Following the alleged assault by Strickland, a letter to the governor was sent out by the state chapter of the National Action Network. McMaster tells me that the state has no tolerance for domestic violence. Yet his hands are tied until Strickland is convicted of his crime.
Upon indictment, the law clearly says upon indictment, the governor has the authority to suspend a sheriff, and upon conviction to remove the sheriff.
The 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office tells me that there's been no grand jury date set at this time. In Somerville, Danielle Seda, Count on 2.
Updates now on legal troubles of another South Carolina sheriff. A judge has granted bond to former Greenville County Sheriff Will Lewis. His attorney says that if Lewis stayed in prison, his entire sentence could pass before that appeal is heard. Charleston City Council meets tonight. On the agenda is an ordinance preventing the city from doing business with anyone who donated to current city office holders during an election. Councilmember Harry Griffin requested council discuss that. There's also a request for the legal department to draft that ordinance. Council will also discuss plans to consider using more than $1 million to buy land in West Ashley for affordable housing. 75 townhomes would be developed on that land. They would be earmarked for people who earn 65 to 120% less than the area's median income. News 2 is your local election headquarters. New at 4, the Georgetown County Board of Voter Registration and Elections dismissed the protest case over recent election results. Council decided election results will stand where they are. The hearing covered 2 separate protests issued by Josh Ricker, who was a candidate for town council, and Jimmy Braswell, who was a candidate for mayor. Both candidates claim absentee votes weren't counted correctly. We are a week out from the runoffs in Charleston County, City of Charleston. If you were unable to make it to the polls on November 19th, you can still vote absentee. Any eligible voters can vote in that mayoral runoff. If you didn't vote on November 5th, you can vote absentee by voting early at your county voter registration office starting today through Monday. Republican presidential candidate and former South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford announced his suspension of his presidential campaign today. In his suspension speech, he says that the overwhelmingly polarized climate swirling around the impeachment inquiry makes it impossible to run. Sanford pledged to continue building awareness of the issue of debt and deficits, warnings that are marching toward, quote, the most predictable financial crisis in the history of our nation, end quote.
Now, a Count on 2 investigation.
Tonight, a count-on-2 investigation into the state of our Lowcountry jails. Legislators are discussing a proposal to house state prisoners with short sentences in local jails in an effort to relieve understaffing problems in South Carolina prisons. But our investigation revealed our Tri-County jails are already struggling with the number of inmates they have. Berkeley County's Hill-Finkley Detention Center is rated for 291 inmates. Today, they have 425 inmates booked inside that jail. They also house 49 of their inmates at the Charleston County's Alcannon Detention Center, costing taxpayers $55 per day. That totaled more than $800,000 last year.
For me to take that on and keep those inmates for an additional year, it would put a strain on our system here.
We have the space, we don't have the staff, so that'd be a real challenge for us.
The proposal is the product of an audit in the South Carolina Department of Corrections. Legislators called for that audit following a prison riot at Lee Correctional that left 7 inmates dead and 22 others injured. Hear from other Lowcountry sheriffs coming up on News 2 at 6 o'clock. A moving cell phone tower is causing a lot of buzz in Mount Pleasant. News 2's Danielle Hensley breaks down what we know and what we can expect at Moultrie Middle School.
Mount Pleasant residents have concerns over the potential installation of a cell tower at Moultrie Middle School after the original community meeting was postponed. Coming up at 5 and 6, we will hear from the president of the communications company and the Charleston County School District.
Next on News 2.
The city of Hanahan and the Berkeley County School District teaming up to discuss a new park. We have details on what that park will include coming up after the break. Plus, tis the season of giving. The Lowcountry Food Bank preparing Thanksgiving bags for a family in need. Stay with us.